Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to House of Anderson, presented to you by Houselights at the Nerd Party Network. I am Tristan Riddell, and with me, as always, is one of my favorite people in the universe, and someone who I would always want with me if we ever were transported into an animated movie, a stop-motion movie particularly, and that is John Mills. John, how are you doing?
I'm delightful. I'm very, very flattered by that compliment. Stop motion seems like it could be a challenging place in which to live, but I'm willing to try it for you.
I feel like in that moment where I was grasping at what to say as an intro, I started thinking about James and the Giant Peach, about how he's a normal boy in in live action, and then he crawls through the peach and then turns into animation. And I just imagine you and I in some sort of Buddy Road film, and then all of a sudden we're stop motion.
That makes sense for some reason. I'm down with that.
I would watch that movie.
I would too. I'd be in it. There you go. That's the ultimate compliment.
Well, everyone, we are talking about Wes Anderson's second stop motion picture and his latest to date and his last film to date, because we are recording this before The French Dispatch comes out. We're recording this in May of 2021, and it was supposed to come out in January of 21. Now it's scheduled for July. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a special episode come July where we break from the director that we're going to be talking about, and we will tell you which director we're going to be talking about next week at the end of this podcast. But today we're talking about 2018's I Love Dogs. Now, I've seen this a few times. John, how many times have you seen this?
This is my first time seeing it, actually.
So you saw it for this podcast?
I did. I saw it for this podcast. And the thing is, it's funny because this is not the first film in this journey that is the first time I've seen for this podcast. So this has almost been a crossover with Missing in Frames, the delightful podcast here on the Nerd Party Network that examines everybody's first exposure to different media. And I can tell you that it's really interesting to sort of go through and have my perceptions of where Wes Anderson had explored before this podcast and my perception of where he's gone as an artist since. Like it's a different picture of a director having gone through this journey.
Interesting. Yeah, I really like that you've been able to experience so many of his films for the first time for this podcast. And when we started this podcast, this idea, we thought we were just going to be doing Fincher films. But then we realized that we liked doing it so much that we moved on to Nolan, then we moved on to Anderson. And when we started the idea, like one thing that you said you didn't want to do was have a homework podcast. We're like,
yes,
I don't want to have a homework podcast. I don't want to do a lot of research. I don't want to constantly have to watch tons of films to understand what we're talking about. But that's what we ended up doing. But we made a homework podcast with good directors and good films.
You know, and that is very obviously a broadside at another show that's archived on the Nerd Party called Retro Perspective, where we looked at the films of 1994, and boy, was that a journey. I invite everybody to go and listen to that because, in retrospect, 1994 wasn't the best year for films in history. So, that's true.
Well, now, while it might have made for a great podcast and great discussion, it doesn't always make for great watching while it's happening.
Very true. Very true. And Anderson is, as we're here on the cusp, I guess, of the French Dispatch finally being released, and we're here with Isle of Dogs. It's interesting because I want to ask you this question. Do you get a sense of somebody who is trying to push against his boundaries? Like how, with these last few films that we've watched, right? With Fantastic Mr. Fox and Moonrise Kingdom and Isle of Dogs, what are you expecting going into the French Dispatch? Like, where do you come out of this? And are you viewing the French Dispatch as a reset film for him to get back to his comfort zone? Or do you expect to see some of the lessons of Isle of Dogs work their way into his process for the French Dispatch?
It's interesting that you phrase it that way because I kind of see his stop motion films as separate from his directorial journey. I feel
Mhm.
like those two films are him stretching himself in that medium. That's his that's his journey. That's what he's trying to teach himself how to do. That's what he's trying to better himself at. The storytelling, the animation. And I feel like if you compare Fantastic Mr. Fox and Isle of Dogs, even though I like Fantastic Mr. Fox more, the animation in Isle of Dogs is mind blowing. The cinematography,
Mhm.
the styles that they use. It's just now I know that it's not just Wes Anderson. Obviously, it's not just him in a basement making it himself. Like he has a team of people. He has Tristan Oliver who did an amazing job. You have great people working under his direction. But this Isle of Dogs definitely felt like next level animation and cinematography compared to Fantastic Mr. Fox. I don't know if I can personally compare it to previous things he's done. Like I don't know if I can compare it to Budapest or Life Aquatic or things like that. But in terms of French Dispatch, it to me, I'm sure I'm wrong, and I hope I am wrong, but it basically looks like a Grand Budapest Hotel clone to me. Like it looks
Mhm.
exactly the same. They even used the Academy ratio, and it looks like somewhat of the same color scheme and editing and shot selection, everything like that. Now, granted, Wes Anderson definitely has his tropes. He definitely has his crutches. But yeah, it just once we get to Grand Budapest, like you could tell, I'm like, oh, this is how he's going to be making movies now. And we didn't get a good test because Isle of Dogs is so different because it's a different medium. But yeah, that's my answer with French Dispatch. How about you?
You know, I think you're pretty much on point here because
Whew.
this is definitely something that is so different. This is somebody playing. The sense I get watching Isle of Dogs is this is somebody who feels freed from expectation. This is somebody who's freer to experiment with what's happening and feels less pressure to deliver a certain type of thing. And I think that's very good because we both know I really responded very, very well, very positively to Grand Budapest Hotel. So it's very good to see a director, instead of trying to match it, instead of trying to compete with himself, to say, I got to do something completely different so that I don't have that hanging over me, because all of my successes and failures will be viewed in a different lens. I have no idea if that's what Wes Anderson's thinking was to do this, but if it wasn't, then he had some sort of instinct that really worked to his benefit here to free him from those expectations. Because in a lot of ways, this is very reflective of a director who is doing something so unexpected and different, even compared to Fantastic Mr. Fox. That's
Yes.
based on source material. This is just its own thing. And that, I think, is extremely interesting because at the very least, I think Grand Budapest and then this at least show that Anderson should stay away from adaptation. He should stay with his original material because he's very sure of himself story-wise. And regardless of what you think of the end product, there's at least a sense of real originality about what he brings to it, which doesn't take anything away from his co-writers, obviously.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that I do appreciate about his animated films is that they don't look like it's him trying to make a live action film.
Mhm.
And I really appreciate that. It's not just him trying to replicate that style or make it super realistic or do go for hyperrealism or like shoot it in some sort of avant-garde way that looks like a normal film, or an average film, I should say, live action, because he utilizes the medium. He utilizes the puppetry and the methodology and everything like that to give you a unique experience that you couldn't get in live action. Because what's the point of using stop motion if you're just going to replicate a different kind of look? Like, utilize the medium to give a unique experience that you can't get in live action. And I really feel like he took what he learned from Fox and ran with it and really pushed the envelope. And the first thing, like when I think Isle of Dogs, the shot that pops up in my head is when they're inside that almost igloo of glass bottles, and
Yeah.
it's dark and they're backlit, and all the dogs are talking to each other, and I think Atari is asleep, and all the dogs are talking to each other, and they're silhouetted, but they're not completely blacked out. It would have been an easy thing to do, just a complete blackout silhouette, but there's just enough light on their faces to dance on their noses and eyes and whiskers, just so you can see a little detail, and it's just a beautiful shot.
It is. There's a lot of visual flair. I struggle for the right word. Flair is the wrong word, but there's a lot of visual skill at play here. And it pays off big time, because again, if you played this on mute, it would still be a very interesting film to watch because of those tableaus, because of I mean, I think there's great editing at play here, and great cinematography for stop motion. And so from that visual aspect, it really is truly successful. And what I think is also very successful, and the thing is, we tend to steer clear of controversy, but I'm going to go head on into something here, because I'm sort of inspired by a show from Malcolm Gladwell, Revisionist History, where he talks about specifically when there's an infringement on another culture and when it's a good thing to bring something from another culture and experiment with it, right? The dreaded cultural appropriation aspect of the discussion. And the specific episode, I don't recall the title, had a very interesting thesis that I agree with, which is, and I'm going to use Isle of Dogs to illustrate it. Isle of Dogs has enough of an international, flavor, a Japanese inspired flavor, that it makes me want to go and watch Japanese films.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a dumbing down of anything. It's not a theft. It's not a one-to-one, but it's done in such a way that it's interesting, and it says, oh, this is obviously inspired by this other type of film I don't typically watch. I come out of Isle of Dogs saying, I want to go watch some Japanese cinema, actually. So in a sense, there's a real positive experience to this film, because both visually and in the decision to have the Japanese characters speak, casting Japanese actors to speak the native language, it lends an air of respect and authenticity that makes you want to go and see what the other film offerings from that actual culture are. Am I making sense on that?
Absolutely, and I think that's a definitely defensible position, and I think that's accurate to what Isle of Dogs is. I feel like when it was released in 2018, we were knee deep in everything being cultural appropriation. I feel like it was, and I'm not saying that cultural appropriation doesn't exist. I'd be an idiot to say that, and I'm not saying that. It absolutely does exist, and it can have very negative impact on people and their own cultures. But with this specific movie, we'd be remiss to not talk about it, because like everything that has any kind of cultural references outside of your own culture was getting slapped with a cultural appropriation. And this movie got hit a lot by critics who were just looking at the trailer. and without even seeing it, which I know is totally rare on the internet. But
Yeah.
it's this was clearly inspired by Kurosawa, and this felt like a love letter to Kurosawa, and it makes you want to watch Japanese cinema, and it brings it to an audience who wouldn't otherwise watch Japanese cinema. And I think that's one key thing about that. And it's just, there's no blending of cultures here. There's no theft of culture. It's a showcasing of a culture that someone is knowledgeable about and has visited, and wants to embrace and showcase it in a positive light. Now, obviously, there's villains and there's heroes, so you're going to see bad representation and good representation, because it's just almost like, Japanese people are people, and so it's,
Shocking.
yeah, and so that's the thing with me, is that now, obviously, like, I'm not Japanese, so I can't say definitively if it's cultural appropriation or not. But to me, it it showcases a culture without trying to deform it into something that it's not.
Well, I mean, it would be the difference between remaking The Ring just to remake it and make it an American property versus making something that is very much has in its DNA a loving homage to a culture and a filmmaking style that exists. I mean, like there's a really interesting, you talk about blending of Anderson's typical style and the style to which he's paying homage, which I think is interesting because it puts him in a zone to be more experimental. And this is, I'm going to go ahead and spoil part of the ending here. I'm not nuts for this film. This isn't something where I'm going to come at it with, a 5-star rating or anything like that. But I recognize that this is an artist being a true and genuine artist about things. It's basically the point that I'm getting at. But given all of those things, and given the fact that there was overall a a positive response from critics and audiences, why do you think this has trouble finding success at the box office? Like, this is something that happens with Anderson, where he has trouble finding success even after establishing himself, right? Like, you have Rushmore, you have the Royal Tenenbaums, and then you have Steve Zissou, and that doesn't take off. You have the Grand Budapest Hotel, which is his biggest success to date, and he follows it up with this, and it doesn't bring the momentum with it. Even though he's already released the Fantastic Mr. Fox, people know he's comfortable at a minimum with the idea of going into stop motion. Why? Why doesn't this strike?
I think it's because people don't, your average moviegoer doesn't look for or even is interested in who directed it. And so they're not looking into the
Hmm.
history of the person who made this film for the trailer that you just saw. Again, I'm saying your average moviegoer, and I'm not saying this to be snooty or pretentious. It's just your average moviegoer doesn't give a crap on who is behind the scenes. They care about how the trailer makes them feel, if it looks good, and to be honest, if there's a face that they recognize. Now, with Fantastic Mr. Fox, something that we talked about was, this was a movie that looked like it could appeal to kids, and in some places even marketed it to kids. And then when you get to the theater, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, whoa, wait, should I let my kid watch this? Or this isn't what I expected it to be. So they sold it as something that it wasn't. With Isle of Dogs, I think they sold it accurately, and they also rated it accurately, because it's PG-13. It's a PG-13 stop motion picture. You're not going to take your kids to that. And your average viewer who is an adult and doesn't know about Wes Anderson is like, why would I want to go see what is maybe a kid's movie? But parents are going to research it and know, oh, that's PG-13. I can't take my kid to see that. And so you're cutting out huge swaths of people on either side. And so
Mm.
really what you're left with is your cinema fans and your Wes Anderson fans. And I think that's my guess as to why. So the people who actually went to go see it, they liked it because they knew what they were going to go see. But you didn't get your casual fans. You didn't get your people just stumbling in and saying, "Oh, that looks good." It's like, no, I'm a cinema fan, or I'm a stop motion fan, or I'm a Wes Anderson fan, and I'm going to enjoy this.
See, you're actually totally shattering an entire worldview, because I see so many ads from the director of, from the producers of, from the caterers who were on the set of, and you're saying that doesn't make any difference to the common person. I'm stunned. I'm stunned. You have actually shaken up movie marketing to its core with this
Am I
position.
am I wrong?
No, not at
Tell
all. No, you're
Okay.
absolutely right. Yeah. No,
Okay,
no, no.
thank you. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, is he being sarcastic? Like, because
No,
like I don't think I'm wrong.
As I love to say, I throw my wife under the bus all the time. If she wasn't married to me, I don't even know if she'd realize George Lucas directed Star Wars, right? Like, I think I'm the only reason that's stuck in her brain. And it is, I mean, she couldn't even tell you who directed Empire Strikes Back. She'd be like, George Lucas? It's like, no, 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 no. And of course, to movie buffs, it's like, how could you not know Irving Kershner's name? Peace be upon him. But like, it is not. It's not at the forefront of everybody's mind. I think that's true. I think that you also wind up having, even people who enjoy it. Like, if I came out of this, if I saw it in the movie theater and somebody said, "Oh, should I go see it? Is it good?" I'd be like, "Yeah." Oh, well, all of the stuff we just talked about, like the visual this and the visual
Mhm.
that and the originality and all of that stuff. But I got to prepare you that half the movie is in non-subtitled Japanese. That would throw people for a loop, and they would say, What? It's what?" And, it's like, yeah, only the dogs speak English, and then they have a translator, and then there's an international exchange student, and that sort of works. But like, it would really, and then of course, you have to avoid mentioning that Yoko Ono's in it, because then you just lose the boomers left and right, because they're still mad about the Beatles. But like, it is, it's interesting because this is such a different sort of thing, and I think it really is. Let me ask the question this way, right? Do you think this is the type of movie that this split release format that we're in now, this landscape that we're in now, where they release to the theater and simultaneously online, do you think something like Isle of Dogs gets more acceptance and exposure now? Would people be more willing to give it a shot if they knew it was something they could try out at home, as opposed to going to the theater, plunking down the $300 in parking to go and see?
I I think so. I never really thought of it before, but I definitely think so. Um, if it was released now, either in 2020 or 2021, but if it was released in 2022 or 2023, when maybe this becomes the norm, I'm not
Mhm.
quite sure. But I think, yeah, like with the HBO Max, once a month, you get a new release, definitely, because good lord, like I never would go to the theater to watch Godzilla versus Kong or the Mortal Kombat movie. Like I never in a million years would have ever gone to the theater to see that. But because it was on HBO Max and I have HBO Max, I watched it. They were both pieces of excrement, and I was sad that I watched them, but I gave them a shot because I had access to it. And so I think definitely if you can get me to watch something as horrible as the latest Mortal Kombat film, you could get somebody who doesn't know who Wes Anderson is the opportunity to watch Isle of Dogs. Absolutely. I think, yeah.
Now, see, this is interesting because you just curb stomped the new Mortal Kombat, and I rated it much lower than you did on Letterboxd. But
What did
watching,
I rate it?
you rated it, I think, like a full star ahead. You gave it like 1.5. I gave it a half star, which, for anybody wondering, a half star, every movie gets a half star because I give them credit if they didn't accidentally kill somebody on set. That gets you half a star. And so you should see the movies where I rated 0. But, you know, it is something where I have to ask now, though. What do you think is the greatest? We talked about the visuals and everything. what's the one thing you think story-wise is the greatest success in Isle of Dogs? What is the one thing you walked out of where you said that was, the truly inspired moment in the script or in the dialogue or something like that?
Huh, like story wise, because like I think so much about the animation, I think so much about the cinematography, and I think so much about the editing, and it just that in itself blows me away. And so story wise, um, it's hard to say because I really like the characterizations. I really like each character. I think each character brings something unique to the table, and I loved Bryan Cranston's voiceover work. I think he has such an
Oh, it's
amazing,
terrific. Yeah.
amazing voice, and I think he's such a fantastic actor. And I'd have to say, can I say the dynamic of the dogs? I really
Sure.
liked the
Of
pack. I
course.
I think that's what I would say story wise is that I loved the writing specifically of the dogs. That was my absolute favorite part. I know, shocker, it's a movie called Isle of Dogs, and my favorite part was the dogs. But Bryan Cranston, Ed Norton, Jeff Goldblum, man.
Yeah,
Um,
right?
Bill Murray. I think my one big criticism is that I wish there was way more side character stuff of the dogs. I wish we saw
Yep.
more of the pack interacting.
Yep. Agree.
That's
I
definitely
I
something I'd say.
I completely agree. I agree with everything that you said, and I think that it ties into what I think the biggest flaw of the picture is that this is something where while I watched it, I was entertained. While I watched it, I was blown away by the artistry, but because of those challenges with I loved spending time with the dogs, and then the other stuff was kind of there
Mhm.
at points. I couldn't help but think this would have been an incredible short film.
Ha. Oh man, I hate when that happens. But I'm trying to think. Maybe you're right because it's 90 minutes long, and I remember like we got to the hour mark, and I had
Yep.
to pause it to go do something, and I'm like, we still have 30 minutes left. Like I thought we were like like a just a quick jump away from the credits.
Yep. I hit the exact same moment where I checked the time, and that everybody knows. You check your watch, you lift up your phone. That is sort of the indication that the movie, let's speed it up here, guys. And I paused it, and there was like 54, not 54. There was 54 minutes past
Mhm.
and however much left. And I said, "Oh, okay." And it's unfortunate because I think that the tough nut to crack, and I look back at Fantastic Mr. Fox and my reaction to it, and then I look at this and my reaction to it. I think the tough nut to crack is that Anderson is very adept at having the light comedy then pay off with the huge emotional punch at the end. As everybody knows by this point, Grand Budapest Hotel was like a gut punch at the end for me. Rushmore, that ending really brought it all together. I know that Steve Zissou is the same way.
Mhm.
I think that's a barrier that hasn't been crossed yet with stop motion. It can't carry that same impact as the live action, and as a result, it it's that much harder. Right? Are there stop motion and animated films that carry that punch and really bring it home for you? Abso-frickin-lutely.
The furnace.
Absolutely. I can name so many animated films where they're locked so deeply in my heart that like it because they have that emotional resonance. But that's what Anderson is missing here, is further distancing me from the humanity of the characters just gives me another hurdle to get past. And so the experience emotionally winds up becoming more like the Darjeeling Limited than it does the Life Aquatic.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I think I might have said something similar when we reviewed Fantastic Mr. Fox, where it doesn't have that gut punch, and there's a certain level of emotion that you're not going to reach with this style of animation. I'm saying his style of animation because I echo exactly what you just said about how animation can absolutely hit you. I want to read you my review of it's real quick. I saw this in the theater, and I was really excited about it. Since I absolutely love um, Fantastic Mr. Fox, I was excited for this too. So this is what I wrote. Amazing! Exclamation point. Beautiful! Exclamation point. Tristan Oliver deserves the Oscar. I was engaged the entire time and only wanted more from the characters. A bit slow in a couple parts and would have liked to have seen more from the pack, but this is Wes Anderson in true form. 4.5 stars, heart emoji. I do not feel that way now. And this is really strange to me. 4.5 stars and a heart on Letterboxd. I was so jazzed from this. Walking out of the theater, I was just like, this is amazing. This is great. And then I watched it when it came out on video, as you say. And
Sure.
And I liked it a little less. I was like, no, it's good. No, I really enjoyed that. But, I'm not as jazzed as when I was on the theater. But no, it's good. It's good. When I watched it just a couple days ago for this podcast, I was like, I don't know if I really like this. It fell so many times. Every time I watched it, it fell down like a half star. And I so rarely does that happen with me. It's happened with a few modern Star Wars films. But with a director I really like, it normally kind of goes up, like with Fincher or Nolan, like the people we've done on this podcast, Fincher, Nolan, and Anderson. Normally, I like a film even more the more I watch it, especially with Anderson films. Some stays the same, but most of the time, if I don't really like it, it'll go up. But very rarely, if I like it, does it ever go down. This one, it does. It doesn't age well with me. I really wish. Part of me is really excited that this was your first time because it's a different perspective for the podcast. But another part of me wishes that you saw it as many times as I, so you could comment on how it's aged for you. So when you turned it off, when credits hit, you clicked your remote and turned off your TV. What were you feeling? Were you feeling just what you just said, or was there something else to it?
No, I was feeling what I just said, what we've sort of been dancing around this whole time, which is, wow, visually, that was amazing. I can't believe they did that. There were certain moments where I couldn't believe that it was animation. Just, it was so deftly handled. There's even a ridiculous shot that doesn't make sense to be impressed by at all, but it's when all the scientists gather together and they pour out things into the beakers, and then they drink them instead of doing another test. Beautiful moment, perfectly staged. Like, you can tell that these shots were lovingly put together, just beyond a shadow of a doubt that there were artists behind the scenes on this. But emotionally, I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a great exercise in what the art form can do. And so it's a very sterile sort of reaction that I have, where it's a respect, but it's not, and this is going to sound silly to use this word, it's not adoration. It's not effusive praise. It's, wow. You know what it reminds me of is years and years, many years ago, doing a Shakespeare play, and the director saying, you can tell whether your relatives actually liked it, because if the first thing they come up and they say is, how did you memorize all of those lines? That means they hated it. And
the programs were really easy to read.
Well, no, you'll notice like when people see Shakespearean plays, if their first comment is, "I can't believe that they got the language so well," because it's Old English, it's different, or Middle English, really. The Middle English way of speaking and everything like that. It's like, how did you memorize it? This is that same sort of reaction, though, where it's like, wow, how did you get that done? That's so artfully done. But notice I'm not talking about the story or how it affected me. And the thing is, I'm a sucker as a dog owner. If dogs are the subject matter or in any way, like I have avoided watching even that terribly CG dog in Call of the Wild with Harrison Ford. I haven't watched that because I know I'm going to be a wreck at the end of it. Anything involving a dog is the easiest way to my heart in the world. And for me not to feel that sort of like surge of emotion at the end, yeah. I mean, it's quirky and it's fun and it's visually stimulating, but it's not terrific.
I think you did a good job of stating that it's what did you say? It's not adoration, but like what was the first word you used? It was
Respect.
it's yes. I think that you respect it for what it looks like and for what it did for the medium and how it used stop motion, but you're not throwing praise on it for how it made you feel. And I'm sure that there are people out there who it did connect with. It's actually funny. Today, the day that we're recording this, there was a dog in my backyard. I don't own a dog. And it was running around my backyard. And so by the time I get out, like get my shoes on and get out there, it's gone. And so, like I was raised by a bleeding heart animal freak. And so I'm going up and down the road because I live off of a busy road. And so I'm going up and down the road looking for it. And I finally find him and I'm chasing him down, like not chasing, like, running, but like I'm trying to quickly get to him because I don't want to scare him. But I'm going into people's backyards. I'm trying to get him, trying to convince him to come with me. I'm like, come on, buddy, I'm going to take you home. It's going to be okay. And he had no tags on him. And I finally get him to my backyard again. And I'm screaming to my wife, open up the garage, open up the garage. And she doesn't hear me. She thinks I'm just yelling at some kids. And which, I mean, is not a stretch. And then he runs away from me. Like I'm petting him and he's enjoying it, but then he runs away again and I have to start all over. And then I get to another end of the neighborhood and he's there and he's just kind of walking around. He's kind of wandering now. I think he's getting tired. I call, public safety and and he ends up getting right next to me. And so we sit down together and he was such a good dog and I'm petting him and I'm just petting him the whole time. And I'm just waiting for public safety to come and pick him up. And I look at him and I'm like, what's your name? And then right when I said that, I heard Jeff Goldblum in my head. I wish one of us spoke his language.
Mm-hmm.
I know that was a long story for very little payoff, but it was just so funny that happened today, the day that we're recording this.
See, as you were telling that story, I'm just thinking you expected the dog to look at you and say, I bite sometimes.
I don't know why I do. I guess I just get scared.
It's just one of those things, though, because it's such an easy sell.
You'd think that using dogs
right
would be a cheap and easy way to get to the emotional gut punch or to get to the cheesy side of things that make you cry. But for some reason, this movie just doesn't do it.
I think it's not just the animation style, but it's just because of the way that Anderson constructs things is already that, lack of a better word, dispassionate way to approach characters, where the payoff has to be in the performance. Ralph Fiennes makes that ending sing. And yes, Jason Schwartzman and Bill Murray make that ending work in Rushmore. And, Gene Hackman and the supporting cast, they make everything work. And if you take that emotional impact of that incredible human performance away. I think it just makes it too distant. Now, Alexander Desplat, that's the proper way to pronounce his last name. Desplat won a lot of praise, a lot of nominations, some awards for his score. What did you think of the score for this? Because now we have fully transitioned away from Mark Mothersbaugh, and we're fully in the Alexander Desplat phase of Wes Anderson. What did you think of it?
I really liked it. I thought it worked well. I thought it serviced the story. I'm a sucker for drums, especially Japanese drums. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I really felt like it serviced the story. It was entertaining. It wasn't too distracting, but at the same time, it made itself present. You were aware of the music without focusing on it too heavily. So it really worked for me. How about you?
I agree. I mean, I think this is an interesting sort of thing because much like the visual styling and much like the editing, there is a cultural authenticity about it where you can tell that Desplat did his homework and made sure that what he did was reverential to what
Yes,
they were
yes,
referencing.
but not a straight copy of something. Like yes,
Right.
reverential.
Exactly.
Yeah,
This
that's a
is
good
an
word.
homage. This is not a ripoff. And that's a very fine line. Like it really, really is. Like, just to go all the way back to it, right? If you're going to rip off, you make the Magnificent Seven,
Yeah,
right?
which many
Like,
people have.
right. But you at least remove it from its original cultural expression and transport it into something different. Like Magnificent Seven is, I think, a cultural homage akin to this because it at least respects the source material enough not to just rip it off and to make you say, I like what I see here and I want to go check out the original stuff for what it truly is. And so that's a good thing. That like cultural exchange is a completely different thing. And I think Desplat's score lives and works in that arena.
I agree with you. Yeah, absolutely. That was one thing. Again, it goes to the technical aspects of it. I mean, I hate to
Right.
call music technical, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I mean it's valid. Um, just because again, this is an exercise. This is an exercise in homage, and I wish that I had a better emotional connection to it. I wish that I was in that space where it made me tear up at the end, or it made me, run and hug my dog. Which honestly, I mean, everything makes me run and hug my dog. So whatever. But
It
like,
it makes me wonder if because I got the theatrical experience, if that's why I reacted so strongly to it. If
I
that's
mean,
why
it's
I was so
possible.
engaged. Maybe it's because I saw it on the big screen. It captivated me even more with the visuals and with the music and with the technical aspects where I was able to overlook the story more and more. But every time that I've watched it at home, maybe I didn't get that at full effect.
Which then, interestingly enough, winds up as a counter argument to our postulating that this would have done better in a streaming and theater environment sort of thing. Because when you're watching at home, it's virtually impossible to have it be a truly pristine
Well, actually,
experience.
what we talked about was would it be enough to for people to give it a chance? Not if
Okay,
they
fair
not if they
point.
would
Fair
like
point.
it or if it would do better, just if more people would watch it.
Okay, fair point. So then let's transport that to, would people like it if they gave it a chance? Or do you think that this is simply based on your experience, something where you need to be completely immersed in it to respond positively to it?
Well, I don't know. I think that's definitely my experience. I think that definitely helped my experience along. I don't think I can I don't think this is a situation where it's like Avatar, where Like, no, you got to see it on the big screen. You got to see it in 3D. You got to get the full effect. Otherwise, it's just Pocahontas. Like you can't. You got to get the full effect in order to get it. I don't think it's to that level, but it definitely did push it more for me. But I don't feel like I can give a blanket statement for everybody else. I don't think I can.
Okay. I mean,
how about what do you think?
Fair.
What do you think?
I do think it would have helped if I watched this in a movie theater. I've seen it once at home, but I think that with it larger than the TV screen that I have in a darkened theater where I'm outside of my house, where I can't make an easy decision to disengage, I think my reaction would have probably been better in the movie theater environment.
It actually bothers me that you don't have a better TV. It really does. Like, we live in different states, but it bothers me that you don't have a better TV.
You, my friend, are more than welcome to buy me a better television. I invite this. In fact, I invite everybody listening to go to thenerdparty.com and sign a petition to give me a better television. I think I need a 4K 100-inch television. It doesn't need to be curved. I think curved is overrated, but just a 100-inch television, 4K.
OLED.
Oh yes, OLED. Okay, thank you.
OLED.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, what are we doing here?
Why would I have hamburger when I can have steak? I mean, seriously.
And so we got to start a GoFundMe, not a petition. Come on. This is. I think this is where it's at.
No. But see, the petition we can put up over at the nerdparty.com/contact and have people go there and send us notes and say, John deserves that television. He absolutely deserves it. Why doesn't he have one? And you can look up this show, Houselights. House of Anderson is part of Houselights, but look up Houselights over on the nerdparty.com and /contact and go ahead and leave us that note. And if we get, let's say 50 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts, then Tristan will be legally and morally bound to buy me that television regardless of any petitions.
That's true. Actually, I do feel like I can cave to that one. And while you're at the nerdparty.com writing us a letter, you can check out all of our other shows that are on the network. We have Star Wars shows, Star Trek shows, Harry Potter show, Babylon 5 show, movies, television. We got something for everyone. Literature shows. It really is. I know I'm biased here, but it really is a great network. And we got new content coming at you every single day of the week. And there's something for everyone. So please check it out. We're also on social media, Facebook, Instagram, search the Nerd Party. On Twitter, we're at Join Nerd Party. And John, we've actually been, because I think people know that we're reaching the end of our Wes Anderson segment of Houselights. People have been sending us ideas on who to do next.
Yes.
But guys, we already have it scheduled, and we're getting a new co-host to join us for this new director. And again, what we talked about at the beginning of the show is about how we didn't want to have a homework show that gave us bad homework. And so we wanted to choose a director that has more hits than misses, at least like with this particular director. Some could argue it, but I think having some of the top movies of all time is definitely something to put on the resume. And so if you haven't guessed it yet, the director we're doing next is the one and only, the white-haired stallion, James Cameron.
I've never heard him called the white-haired stallion, but boy, oh boy, that is perfect. Yeah, the one and only James Cameron, a name that strikes awe in audiences and fear in technical crews across the world. So
I would love to get successful. I would love to get so successful that my works are super popular at first, but then people start to hate them over time because they're so popular. I feel like that's his bread and butter.
See, we'll save it for the podcast, but I can tell you in all honesty, James Cameron is responsible for so much of, he shaped so much of my tastes as a film goer. Like his biggest hits happened at just the right time in my life, that there was an expectation of quality that definitely worked to the detriment of other directors. Because when you can find somebody who can, okay, I love to say this, but like 2 years after Batman, the original Batman by Tim Burton in 1989 gets raked over the coals for spending more than $30 million on its production and its marketing. 2 years later, for somebody to say, hold my beer, and spend 3 times as much and say, but I just needed it for the movie. Like, it's almost as if he looks at the budgets of other movies and he says, no. I need 3 times as much as that.
That's cute.
Right, exactly. Avatar 2 is going to spend the GDP of most nations on the face of the planet.
At least Indonesia,
at this point, Avatar 2 will be its own country by the time it's done. Good grief. And the thing is, we always bet against him. Every time a movie is coming out, everybody, Titanic is going to be a flop. Oh, it got delayed 6 months. Oh my gosh, that movie is going to completely bomb. Okay, Avatar's the one that's going to completely bomb. Like it's like he has his own money printing machine somewhere. It's like, I don't know where the guy gets it from.
Well, it is something that we are going to explore over the next several weeks. So if you guys want to follow along with us and make sure that you're prepped and ready for next week, make sure to watch Terminator, because we're not going to review Piranha 2. I'm sorry, guys. We're not that hardcore.
Listen. Oh, no. I'm gonna throw you under the bus right here. I'm that hardcore.
You are.
Nobody
You're
else
right.
is.
And you know what? I completely concede. You are 100% right. You are that hardcore. Me and our new co-host is not, and I think he would freely admit that. And for those of you wondering, our new co-host is someone who I'm very excited to bring onto the show. He's been a friend of mine for a long time. He's a great individual, sharp-minded, and just has a lot of great opinions and a great voice. Darren Moser, you can find him at thenerdparty.com with our first Star Trek show that we've ever had at the network, SETI Alpha 3. Go check out his show. Go find him on Twitter under @Dr. Sci-Fi, and you will have a good time. So, Darren, we're looking forward to having you on next week. Everybody else, please check him out. And also, please check us out online. John, where can we find you?
I'm Kessel Junkie, KESSELJUNKIE. I love always to say your social network of choice. I can't quit Twitter. It's a sick addiction. But I invite you to connect with me over on Letterboxd, where I think my reviews are pretty funny. Hey, that's just me. You can also find me here on the network co-hosting Aggressive Negotiations, a different kind of Star Wars podcast. We do not belabor ourselves with new toy releases or what lightsaber is at Galaxy's Edge. We go deep dive on the material that is Star Wars, and we touch on some of the really obscure and weird stuff. Trust me, you're going to want to tune into that one, Aggressive Negotiations. Tristan, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Insane Robin of your social media of choice. And I'm mainly on Twitter and Letterboxd. Please check it out. And you can find me on the network with a few archive shows, specifically Nerd Nuptial, which is a show that I'm very proud of that I hosted with my wife. So please check it out. And thank you so much for visiting us at Houselights. Please prepare as we get ready to dim them and close the door on House of Anderson. But yet, we're going to open the door next week to the House of Cameron.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.